what you said, it's reminded me what I also read in Marshall's book about the violence. That the expectation is violence, right? So there is it's a type of violence, even though it doesn't look like real violence. What we usually think of. Can you tell a little bit more about, because he wrote a special chapter, I still remember, that why violence is bad actually, and why, because we are, especially in Russia, we are in a very violent culture, I would say, and really, like we get raised in a quite violent, usually, not I'm not saying physically, but there are people who get even physical violent, but emotional violence, it's really easy to go with because people just, it's the first idea what comes to their mind usually when they see something is going wrong, to fix it right away now. So and he wrote that it's really bad way to do it. Can you tell a bit more why?
You know, in a relationship, my love is unconditional. The relationship has some conditions. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to go too much to the other extreme. If we would like to do something together, especially if we want to live together, we need to have something common, what we agreed. Okay. It's very important how much expectations I have, and I don't believe we can live without expectations.
At all.
At all, yes. Because if I travel in a big city, like I drive my car, and then when the light is green, then I expect the other person from the other direction, they stop at the red light. Mm-hmm. So there are certain things but it's very important how many of them we have, and like the amount, and how do we relate to that, those expectations. The more have to we have in a relationship, the less love we have. Mm-hmm. The more I expect from you, the less, because when I expect something from you, then you can submit or rebel. Mm-hmm. When I tell you, like if we go to personal relationships, I don't know, I'm crazy, the bed has to be done. Because I cannot sleep well without the bed. I can do it at 8:30 in the evening, still, because that's very important for me. But if I expect this from my partner, he should do it, then the relationship can pay for it. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to be aware what is really important for me. And when I make a request, like the way I try to communicate this, I may say, are you willing to do this? When I say this, that means this is extremely important for me. And when I say, would you enjoy doing this? That means if you would enjoy giving to me, I would enjoy receiving, but if it doesn't come from joy, then I don't want you to do it.
Yeah, that's interesting what you're saying, because I met several people who were trying NVC with their partners. And the problem they encountered was that the partner is not ready even to talk about the needs and the feelings. So they are too closed, right? And what you're saying is that before we start to discuss anything, we should open enough about our feelings and needs. How to do it? How to help people? If person is not, maybe he has no skills, or I don't know, he was raised in a family close enough not to talk about feelings. How can we help to open up this? You said it took 2 years or so for you, right?
First of all, be patient. Mm-hmm. Second, don't expect psychological help from your partner unless you consciously chose a psychologist and you want them to help you at home. Okay. It's very important to have inner clarity, first of all, and I believe everyone is communicating their feelings and needs, maybe not in the form and not in the timing I would expect.
Okay.
So people who are not using this vocabulary, that doesn't mean they don't communicate their feelings and needs. Just don't use this classical NVC, learn it well enough to use more the kitchen form of it.
Okay.
And then if you learn that will be really helpful in understanding each other.
Oh, that's actually very good. So that you can ask the question and then wait for an answer, but maybe not now and not verbal. Could be some other form the person is more ready to give, right? That's good.
If you tell me I should say what is inside me, and this is the first time in my life when someone is asking me. Once we were on a training and the gentleman, I heard from a gentleman, the task was to look inside and to share what I found there. I looked inside, I didn't find anything, and I spoke as long as I was supposed to do. He was Hungarian, working in Germany, like a software engineer, very much used to do what he was told. But this task of looking inside, or was not his cup of tea, this is the reason why I give a piece of paper to each of my, even in a short introduction, with the list of feelings and needs. Because when not too many words, but enough words are in front of the person, like, please, would you choose? And I heard about families when they say the list is on the fridge. And when one of us are noticing the tension is building, then someone puts the list on the table, and then we start to look for our own feelings and needs.
What's going on?
And in that moment, something is shifting.
Okay.
Because I stop thinking about what's wrong with you, but I'm looking inside, hey, what really matters to me?
Okay.
Now I'm at the point, I have dreams, and I try to focus on what's here and there. I still have the commitment, especially to support, to train the trainers where we don't have trainers, but for my little Hungarian brain, this Russia is just far too big. I can't imagine. It's just to have 2-3 Russian trainers, especially
How much do you have now in Russia?
For sure 2. But none of them lives in Russia.
Okay.
So it's still quite and my dreamland is Russia. I really would like to invade Russia with my nonviolent communication skills.
Non-violently invasion. Good.
Yes. My big dream is, where I have the most passion, and I believe that's my life task or purpose, or one of the purpose in my life is NVC-based peer mediation for children aged 6 to 10. Because this is the age where children can be taught in a structured way. They are already big enough and small enough to speak about their feelings in front of their classmates. And those teachers who can teach their students to do this, to name their observation, feeling, need, request, they can easily teach the student how to mediate among themselves, which is, we have one school so far in Hungary where they do this in each classroom. It's not a magic wand which will solve all the problems, but it gives another tool for the children and for the teachers how to relate to conflicts. Teachers has to be very courageous because they give a very important part of their power by not saying who is right, who is wrong, but letting the children, giving them tools. It's not enough just to let children to solve their conflicts, because they learned conflict resolution from their family, from the adults around them. Usually it's
violent.
Yes. But if we give them tools how to do it, and we let them to do it, that can result in a total different way.
Do you have any feedback from that school? How do they use it? Is it helping somehow to them?
The way I define a good teacher, who is teaching at least for 20 years and still love children. Those who tried to teach for 20 years and still loving children, most of them agree with me. It's quite a challenge. And I met a couple of teachers there, and they were really appreciating being given another tool how to get even closer to their students, and children who did something and everyone knows it was not okay, they get the chance to verbalize what was going on in them, which is very much raising their awareness. In the they are put in a structure where they are kind of forced to listen to the other person. I believe it's much more powerful to, if I hurt you, it's much more powerful to hear from your words about your own inner experience, how was it for you, than any punishment.
Yeah.
And if we are able to have these dialogues, that helps to reconnect. Because this kind of mediation is more focusing on the connection and not so much just finding the solution. But this is happening in front of the whole classroom, and I believe one of the most important learning is those kids who are observing it. Because they realize, hey, it's not like him being the good guy and me being the victim. You did your share, I did my share, and that's what we got together. So they won't see the world as black and white. They see everyone had their own share. So we got many positive feedback about how much it helps the teachers to relate to their students. It reduces some of their work because kids can mediate sometimes among themselves without inviting the teacher, and they enjoy to do this. Their relationship with conflicts is totally different.
Great. So I have another question about this training certification. Now it's running, right? So you can get this. I read on the website that it takes something like 2 years and quite a lot of training involved. So you have to go on these certified workshops and spend a lot of time and money to get a certificate, and then also you need to, as you said, renew it every year or something like support it every year. Why it is so tough? Maybe if it would be easier, then you would get more people involved.
Have you ever been on a nonviolent communication training? Dimitri?
No, it will gonna be first time.
If you go, can you imagine, how do you measure if the trainer was authentic or not?
That's a good question. I think if he is really, I can say, if something happens on the training, like a small conflict or something, and he is really not according to his, let's say, training material, but in that very sport, which is very spontaneous, let's say, and he is using that tool right away without even thinking, then it's really, really great.
So what is your guess? Let's imagine you want to become a certified nonviolent communication training, and your future participants will measure your authenticity, how much you can use this process in unexpected situations. Maybe after 40 years of doing trainings, very few unexpected situation comes, but still can happen. It requires lots of practice to really integrate this view, because it's not just the violent Russians. I hear the same from Scandinavians and Western Europeans and Americans and Hungarian as well. It's very difficult to when something happens and I don't like, for me it's very difficult not to think the other person is wrong or me being wrong, but to connect with my own feelings and needs. So it requires enormous amount of practice, and you are not the only one who measures the quality of the training by how the trainer could use the process they are teaching in unexpected situation that happens in the workshop. So it requires a lot of practice. No one is expecting you to be perfect, but what I like our certification process is it is not measuring how much you know, it's more measuring how much you can learn. When do you notice when you did was not the way you wished, and then how you can learn from it.